I'm drinking a, and it's watermelon.
Perfect.
Monster Energy. These are delicious.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I hadn't one of these in a long time. And I was like, man, I was like, because we were talking about how grandparents or just older people in general, just older people say things that are racist because of where they grew up. It wasn't necessarily, or maybe it was just accepted. And
look up that phrase, by the way.
What does it mean? I'm gonna.
The fuck does that
one
mean?
thing that I remember someone saying was like, oh, I haven't had one of those in a coon's age. And I was like, I don't think we can say that.
I had one of those in a coon's age.
and I didn't want to say that on air, but Nsima was like, no, like, let's talk about that. That's silly. So I'm gonna Google it. And
well, there's things that, to be more clear, that we should have never said.
Yeah.
However, it was a little more accepted, I guess, that people said certain things. But look, man, behind closed doors, Mexican people are going to talk about white people. White people are going to talk about Mexican people. White people are going to talk about black people. Black people are going to talk about
white people.
Right?
Dog, I look at
we all think each other is ridiculous, and we're all right.
You know what's funny though? I mean, man, when I look at it's just sometimes the shit that older white people say. Sometimes I'm just like, all right, it was different. I'm not going to assume anything of them because they grew up at a different time. Like they got to catch up, yes, and not everything they say is okay. But like if you're 60, 70, and you say, oh, it's the blacks, well, I'm just gonna let it go over my head. I'm gonna act like you didn't say anything. That's just how I look at it, man. It was a different time for some of these folks. I can't assume. All I can go about is how they treat me as we're interacting, and we'll go based off of that. But just gotta have some grace with these old people.
People are weird too, because if you mention a certain person, they're like, "Well, I'm not talking about him."
Yeah.
It's like you said black people, and then I mentioned 5 black people, and you're cool with them. So what you're talking about doesn't fucking make any sense.
Yeah,
like they
I
don't
have black friends.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Then why are you talking shit?
It's like my mom. She's 63, 64, but when she was when she was working, she would sometimes say, and by the way, she's from Nigeria, so she's a foreigner. She's gonna say, I met this woman. I'm pretty sure she was Chinese. I'm like, not every Asian person is Chinese. They might be the one you know the most, but she could have been Korean. She could have been Vietnamese. It's not because my mom is racist or whatever. It's a foreign thing. So sometimes it's a foreign thing. Sometimes it's an old white thing.
We were trying to
Coon's age.
I was trying to describe something to some friends of ours when we traveled to Italy.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, some of the tourists there, they were really rude, and like I was like, I told Quinn at a certain point, I'm like, you got to kind of lower your shoulder. Like, you got to stand your ground because, like, these people, they're coming at us hard. And our friend, Jinder, who's Chinese, she's like, it's okay to say it. She's like, it was the Chinese people, right? She's like, we had a lot of cameras, right? And I was like, what you said. She's like,
that's so funny.
She just said, like, she's like, where we're from, typically, if you don't fucking fight for position, you don't get on the transportation, or you don't get into the school, or you don't get into, because a lot of times there's a lot of people congested in one spot, and that's kind of the way they do shit. So they literally are elbowing you as you're trying to like something like walk through the Vatican or something like that.
Yeah.
You're trying to like catch a peek of something, and you're getting like elbowed in the ribs.
Yeah, because like if we get, I don't know, if we catch.
Say, what's going on down there? What's all that racket?
What I was going to say, like, if we're walking down the street and somebody elbows us in the ribs, it's just like, it's an event. It's like, what the fuck is your problem?
Right.
But in countries where you are like shoulder to shoulder everywhere you fucking go, like, you're kind of used to it. You're just like, oh, this is just Tuesday. I got to get to the train or whatever it is, because like what is it? Like, you're invading my bubble or whatever. It's
right,
like
right.
Yeah.
Their bubble is just like their skin, like that's all
it's
they
a
got.
lot, a lot closer than what we're used to.
Yeah, so it's weird. It's jarring for us.
Power Project family, how's it going? So no matter what diet you're on or no matter what supplements you take, it's necessary as you get older to know what's going on under the hood. That's why I've partnered with MERRICK Health. They're the premium telehealth clinic owned by Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And we have a panel that will allow you to get all of your labs done and checked in a super easy fashion. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yeah, you guys got to head over to merrickhealth.com/power project. That's MERRICK health.com/power project. And at checkout, enter promo code Power Project to save $101 off of this comprehensive panel. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
What are some things that you guys hear that you guys are like, that, probably shouldn't say that anymore? Have you guys heard anything recently? I'm just curious.
There's certain things that, like, you know, over the years that I'm just like, well, if that is offensive to people, then I just won't use it.
Oh, like what? Like what?
Just certain gay things and things like that. I mean, like, I grew up where, like, my brothers always told me everything was gay. And soccer was gay. This was gay. That was gay.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a derogatory way. And that's just what I grew up with. And that's my experience growing up on the East Coast. And I don't know, maybe some other people had a similar experience. I've heard Joe Rogan and some other people talk about it in that way. And I'm just like, yeah, if that's hurtful and derogatory, then I certainly won't use it publicly. And if I have friends where I'm cool with saying literally just about anything to them, then I'm going to continue to use it. If
just so you guys know, Mark does not use the N-word at home. He does not use it with friends. Just because I know, like...
Well, Nsima's threatened my life a couple times. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I'd be using it all the time.
God damn. Yeah, I feel you.
No, I mean, honestly, like, I don't want to fucking hurt any. Like, I seriously don't want to hurt people. Like, I just don't. Like, that's not part of this show and part of, like, Instagramming and shit. Yeah, I throw some flames out there here and there, and you get to be you fight with people a little bit, argue with people a little bit, but, like, I don't want to fucking hurt anybody. So if something I say, and just getting closer with people from different walks of life, that's been really helpful. And it's just like, I'm not going to fucking talk that way anymore. It's just easy for me. It's easy for me to make that change. And if what I was doing before somebody thought was stupid and hurtful, then I'm moving on and I'm trying to improve and I'm trying to get better.
Yeah. I can't think of anything other than, you know, like what Mark said, like, you know, in junior high school, like, oh, that's gay. It's like, what's gay? It's like, I got homework today.
On that note, but
you know, like it wasn't actually.
Yeah. Don't lose that thought. But I just remembered when I was looking at you, I'm like, what kind of shit did we say in high school? Wetback.
Yeah.
That was one that was like wetback.
It mattered where it came from, though.
Yeah. There was that. There was. Sometimes black kids like call it Indian kid sand.
Yo, yeah, I remember
that was the sand. Yeah. So, but it was all in jest. It was all jokes, right? But you know,
hopefully,
yeah, shit was jokes. No one was being like real whatever about it. But yeah, it is interesting how language changes. And one thing about like saying like, oh, that's gay. You know what's interesting? I hear people who are gay. I hear them using it. It's like that's the kind of thing where it's like it's okay for the people in the group to use it, but if you're not in the club, then keep it out your mouth. That's kind of how it is. You know what I mean?
How gay do you have to be in order to use the word gay freely?
As like a joke, man, I don't know, man.
Like we're pretty close.
We are close. We say some sus shit on this podcast. I feel like we should get a gay pass, but I mean,
that'd be nice.
I'm not even gonna risk it. I don't want to risk it.
We're just joking, people.
I really don't want to risk
stupid.
It. Yeah, man.
But yeah, that and then the other term that would be for trans people, which also happens to be a car part. Ooh. I didn't know that was offensive, and once I learned, I was just like, hey, I'm not gonna like. It's hard for me, period, just to like keep track of stuff. But like that was one that slipped way under my radar.
Dog, if you watch a lot of old 90s TV shows, because like me and my girl, there was a point she was watching a little bit of Sex in the City. And as I was watching, I'm like, damn, like they really like a lot of these old shows when it comes to people who are trans, they go hard. They go hard. It's usually a black person who's like super buff with like hair, and they just like that fucking tranny. It's just like, whoa, this was cool in the 90s. Now you get canceled. You know,
90s were different.
Times change. But let me just give y'all a quick tip, because for some of the older individuals, when you're talking about certain ethnicities, don't be like the blacks. Just change that one. like let's start there. Don't say the blacks. Just say you say black people or Mexican people,
Black folk,
the Mexicans. You know,
yeah.
So that little shift makes a difference.
Can choose your words in order of like threat that you think it would be if you actually said. No, I'm just kidding.
That's true. Imagine
We're
there's
not
a guy
going near
list.
it. I'm gonna get my ass kicked many times over for that one.
Dude, that's a really cool rule. Imagine that the person you're talking about is right next to you. That'll let you know if you should say it or not.
That's what I tell people who are like have a hard time with road rage. I'm just like, oh, that person that cut you off or whatever, and you're honking, you're flipping them off. I'm like, imagine wherever you're going, they're going to park next to you and get out at the same time.
And the guy's going to be fucking jacked.
He's going to look like Nsima, no jujitsu, and then what are you going to say then?
Right.
It's like, you ain't going to say shit. But you have this fancy metal box covering you. You feel safe.
How does a white guy tell a racist joke? You guys know that one?
I don't. Let's hear it.
Like this. Checks the surroundings quite well and then leans in and says whatever the fuck.
Yes.
Very clearly, but quietly.
Oh,
That's
God.
like one of my favorite jokes.
Dude.
That's a good one.
I mean, it's not true.
You're right.
It's not true.
When Louis C.K. before all this shit, he was just like, man, being white's great. It's going to end eventually though, right? Like he was talking about like, we're on a good streak. You got to figure it's going to come to an end. It's just,
Oh, man.
It's like on its way out at some point.
Yeah, man. White dudes. People hate white dudes these days. It's so tough for them, actually. I feel kind of sorry for y'all.
Oh, God.
Y'all got to be so careful.
I think they're okay. They're doing just fine.
I mean, yeah, overall they're good, but they got to be a bit more careful than everybody else. Peeps, we love bringing you all this fitness information, and we also want to help bring that information to more people. So if you could help us out, hit that red subscribe button and then hit the notification bell, and we'll continue to bring you the heat. And I won't whisper in your ear. Talk to you guys later.